Hi, this is Carol from the Light FM. How do you find hope in the darkest situation? In fact, some situations are really difficult to talk about, like human trafficking. But we had an opportunity to sit down with Natalie Grant. Her organization is finding hope in the midst of a hard topic. And we talk about that hope with Natalie Grant today. And this is the What Hope Sounds Like podcast.
How do you find and keep hope alive?
But freedom from trafficking, true freedom, only comes through Christ.
Absolutely.
You can't find freedom from the chains of slavery without Jesus in the equation. And there's only one that can do that. That's the church.
Absolutely.
And we are the church. That's
Yes.
not an institution. That's the people.
My hope is centered totally, completely in Him.
This is what hope sounds like.
We're excited today to be able to spend just a little bit of time with Natalie Grant. Thank you so much for being here today.
For having me.
Natalie is on campus. She is filming a Christmas special with Will Graham.
Yes.
It's going to be live December the 10th, so make sure you check that out at willgrahamlive.com. December the 10th. We are so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and you've been around Christian music. When did you actually start in Christian music?
Oh, goodness. Well, I got my start actually in a group that was kind of around for, at that point, they'd been around for 30 years. They were called Truth.
Oh, yeah.
And I did that for a couple of years. So that started 94 to 96. Then I moved to Nashville. My first record came out in 1999.
So when you were like 2 or 3.
Exactly. Like I was just a little girl, but no. So I mean, almost, goodness, that's a long time, almost
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah. Well, and since that time, now human trafficking has been in the headlines a lot recently, but you have been advocating for the victims of human trafficking really since the beginning of your ministry.
Well, since about 2004 is when I learned about it. And I do remember that it's almost comical how I learned about the issue. I was watching an episode of Law and Order, and I never thought I would say that television in that way would change my life, but it did.
Yeah.
I always remembered that they said Law and Order is ripped from the headlines, right?
Yeah.
So I thought these are always based on real cases, even if they change some of the facts. And they'd used this term human trafficking, and in 2004, I had never even heard that term before. And I remember almost getting a little bit irritated that they were trying to convince us that this was real, that kids were being sold. And I'm like, if this was happening, we would know about it.
Right.
Like, people would be talking about it. So I literally did a Google search after that television episode, what is human trafficking? And I actually found the Trafficking in Persons report that the United States government puts out. So then I'm like, oh, wait, not only is this real, but they know enough about it to make a report about all of the countries around the world that they have on a watch list. And there was something that just ignited in me as a follower of Jesus, that the government's talking about it, a television show. Why does the church not know about this issue? Why are we not talking about the most innocent among us that are being exploited in this way? And that really, for me, is how it started.
Yeah, and since that time, you have been able to actually have a hand in the government and what they know and what they are finding out about. Tell us about that experience.
It's just really incredible to me when you just take a moment and you realize that when you feel a God nudge, right? I've never heard God speak audibly, but I recognize that still small voice, and that God nudge of say yes to where I'm leading you, say yes to these little prompts, has led me down a path that I never even would have thought possible. Founded an organization back in 2005, and that just began to open doors of, okay, there were so few that were involved in the fight. It got me invited to the White House, and then just in a small select committee, and all of a sudden I find myself, on this panel of people speaking to the Senate. And I remember sitting at this table and all of these senators sitting in front of me from both sides of the aisle. And the way I started my speech was, I don't know how I even got here. Like I feel so not equipped, but yet at the same time, isn't that how so many people feel, especially when they learn about an issue like this? The lie is, I can't do anything. This problem is too big.
Yeah.
This issue is too big. How could I possibly do anything? And yet I felt that way. And yet God will do immeasurably more than we could ever ask, think, or imagine when we are obedient to what he asks us to do. And I feel like in this instance, I'm living proof of that all of a sudden I just followed these little God nudges. And this year, almost 200,000 kids through the organization we founded are being helped to find freedom from human trafficking. It's really incredible.
Wow, amazing. Why do you think the church has been so scared of the issue of human trafficking?
This issue is horrific to talk about. And the more you learn about what is happening, it is difficult to speak about children being ravaged. It's difficult to find the words that are appropriate. When you're in a church, and I even find myself when I'm in a church, I'm instantly scanning the congregation to go, what ages are in this room?
Yeah.
How old are there kids in the room? But then all of a sudden you realize we still have to find a way to talk about it so that parents realize this is not just a danger for kids in countries far away.
Right.
This is a danger for kids in every community, in every neighborhood, in every town in America. Human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal activity in the United States. This is not just an issue that's abroad. This is an issue that's here. And I find that there's been issues along the way. I remember when the church didn't want to talk about the AIDS epidemic. Yeah. And then they found a way wait a second, we're looking at what may have caused an issue instead of thinking about the victims of the issue. And I feel like the church has been awakened to this. And you look at slavery in general, and you kind of look back through the history, and you look through the history books and you go, the church kind of missed it a little bit. You look a few hundred years back and you're like, oh, we kind of had opportunities to stand against slavery and we kind of missed it. But this is our moment. Yeah. And I feel like more than ever before, the church actually is standing up and speaking out. And that is because a government problem, an issue, a government can speak to the issue. They can give funds to the issue. They can help to find the perpetrators. They can help to prosecute and bring to justice. But freedom from trafficking, true freedom, only comes through Christ.
Absolutely.
You can't find freedom from the chains of slavery without Jesus in the equation. And there's only one that can do that. That's the church.
Absolutely.
And we are the church. That's not an institution. That's the people.
That's us. Yeah, yeah. What would you say to the man or woman who's listening to this today and they say, that's such a heavy topic. How have you seen hope? And how have you seen Jesus in the middle of such a hard issue for us to talk about?
There's so many. One instance I can think of, I live in Nashville, Tennessee. There's this idyllic community right near where I live called Franklin, Tennessee. If you've ever been there, it is like you feel like you're walking through Leave It to Beaver. You know what I mean? It's just this perfect little community. There was a human trafficking ring that was broken up in Franklin, Tennessee, where they found 12 girls under the age of 18. And the way that they found it was that it was on a street with houses, but just everyday citizens started to notice 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, cars were coming to this house. Lights were on all the time, all hours in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, they just began to ask questions. And they just, everyday citizens said, you know what? I'm not going to ignore that nudge. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the authorities. And just that community of citizens in that neighborhood led to those girls being free. I think the other thing I think of is a story of a girl from one of our lighthouses in the Philippines. Her name is Asa, and she was trafficked at the age of 11. And her mom never gave up hope that she would be found. Last year, we were able to reunite Asa with her mom, to see video footage. I choke up talking about it as a mom, but to see video footage of Asa running over a field because she could see her mom, and her mom is falling on the ground because she can't hardly believe that her daughter has come home. And you realize those kind of family reunitings, they're still possible. Hope is still possible. This is a dark issue, but you can begin to learn how you can get involved, whether it's going to your church and saying, what organization can we support? Whether it's writing letters to your senators saying, stand up for this issue, this is an important issue. Whether it's just posting about it, whether it's teaching your kids about it, there's all ways. Going to their schools and saying, let's do a human trafficking awareness clinic where we teach parents about the dangers of the internet, about social media, about Snapchat, where people can send direct messages to your child and 24 hours later they're disappearing and you don't know what's been said. Parents, if there's one thing I can say to you, become aware of the dangers of social media. We still have the say when our children are in our house, don't fall for the lie that you have to give in because of the pressure of culture. You can still set the rules in your home for what children see, what your children have access to. And social media is a huge danger, and that's something all of us can have control of.
I love that you shared the story about Franklin, Tennessee, because most people think it is an international problem.
Yep.
Yes,
Thousands
not
of
an
miles.
at-home problem.
Yes.
And it is. So tell people, one, how they can pray,
Yes.
and two, how they can take that next step to get involved. You mentioned going to their churches, but with you particularly, how can we get involved with your ministry?
So one of the ways that that you can pray, and I say that all the time, is prayer is free, and we have free access to the Father. I think sometimes when I share about this issue, and I share that I founded a organization, I am so quick to say, I am not the hero. All I do is hold a microphone and tell people about it.
Yeah.
But there are those that are the heroes. They are on the front lines of this fight. I think about so many of our people that are going into the most dangerous of places and getting these kids out. They've had to move. One of the guys at our organizations had to move his family over 20 times because of the dangers of people finding out where he lives. Pray for their protection. Pray for open doors. Pray for the ability to get in and get these kids out. Pray that there will be a shift in our government, that they will make this a priority. There's so many ways that you can pray, and pray that these kids that are rescued aren't just rescued out of a bad situation. Pray that they find the hope and the gospel of Jesus Christ, because that is the way that their lives are turned around. And then to learn more about how to join the fight, if you want to join what we're doing, you can learn more at hopeforjustice.org. That's hopeforjustice.org.
Well, you know her powerful voice. Now you know her powerful passion. Thank you, Natalie, so much for taking time to share with us today.
Thank you for letting me.
We are excited about the Christmas special, but we're even more excited about the difference you make in our lives day to day by hearing your music,
Thank you.
but the difference that you're making around the world through this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you.